Hello, and welcome to my classroom. My name is Emmanuel Oppong-Yeboah. Your student child scholar probably calls me Mr. Yeboah, which is the second part of my hyphenated name. This is the doorway your student child scholar walks through each day to get to my class. If you're receiving this video, they're in my fourth period class, so they see me at the end of the day. Um, because we're doing curriculum night virtually, this is our second time doing that, third time. You don't get a chance to see into my classroom, so I figured I would give you a little peek. Your student child scholar probably sits at one of these seats, and they come into my class in the hope, at least from my standpoint as their teacher, is that over the process of the 85 or 75 minutes I have them each day, they learn. Um, your student child scholar is going to be with me for a while. They're enrolled in my full year course. What that means is that they're taking English 11 with me now in the fall, and that over the course of the year, we'll eventually transition in the spring semester to a full AP curriculum, and they'll be taking AP English language and composition. Um, if your child hasn't been enrolled in an AP class before, I want to just give a little bit information or a little bit of information about AP classes. These are typically the most difficult, most challenging, most rigorous classes that high schools offer. And at the end of our year together in May, students will be taking an exam. Depending on how well students do on this exam, they can leave high school with college credit. So they can go into college already having credits that they can apply, that they can use, that are transferable, and in some cases, even finish college early as a result of that, depending on how many AP courses they take. So my goal over the course of the year is to prepare students for that test, but also more importantly, to make sure that they are learning, that they are becoming really great writers, and becoming really competent readers. So that's a little bit about the class. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the syllabus, which you can see on the screen. Um, so I believe I sent this out earlier this year, so some of you may have already looked at it. If you haven't, that's fine. It's an interactive syllabus. What that means is that the different topics are sort of outlined here on the slide, and you can sort of click through them once you click that percent button up here at the top. We're going to rewind and start at the top with contact information. Like I said before, Emmanuel Oppong-Yeboah, go by Mr. Yeboah. The best way to contact me is email. My email is listed there. I typically check it between 7 a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. I try my best to respond to email in a timely manner, but sometimes I do get sort of overwhelmed by my schedule. If you've sent an email and you notice I haven't responded, please give me a prod. I know you shouldn't have to, but it's really helpful for me in sort of just balancing the different aspects of my job. We have a Google Classroom. That's where most class materials and resources are posted. You probably won't interact with that too much beyond like the weekly assignment list that you can sign up for. But if your child, student, scholar is ever sick, ever absent for any reason, that is a great place for them to check, to be able to stay abreast, to be able to know what we're working on in class on a given day. So that's that. I'm going to start with just a general overview of the course. Like I said before, it is English 11 to AP Lang. That's a shortening of AP English Language and Composition. In the first half, they're focused on the skills and standards connected to English 11. Those are the Massachusetts standards. In the second half, they're more focused on the skills and standards associated with the AP College Board's curriculum and standards book, but we're interweaving those so that they leave the year feeling really great about their writing and about their ability to comprehend complex texts. At the bottom there is a guy named Paulo Freire. He has influenced my philosophy as a teacher a lot. And one of my critical hopes for this class and for all classes I teach is that students leave being able to better read the word and read the world, meaning that they feel really good about their place in the world as global citizens and feel like they can speak into it. Don't feel like they are in any ways unable to communicate their thoughts and express their ideas in any setting that they're in. They come into a room ready to engage, capable of engaging. So yeah, that's a little bit about the class. These are links to the standards associated with our course. English 11 is a world literature course. I focus specifically on the theme of migration. World literature is a big umbrella. And so in the umbrella of world literature, we're focusing specifically on novels, on texts, on works of nonfiction that have to do with the experience of migration. Um, these are some questions associated with the course, thinking about what migration is, what home and belonging mean, what it means to pass, what passage is, and having students think about their own relationship to migration. There are 5 units that we're going to be going through in the first semester of the course. Students have just wrapped up their first unit at this point. That was less related to migration and more related to just thinking about their relationship to literacy, who they are as readers and writers. In AP Lang, we're going to be focused on doing a lot of writing, really, and reading tough texts. But a sort of organizing theme of the course is this project that students are going to be working on called the Reschool Project. Students will have all of second semester to work on it. And for the project, they're thinking about this question: what is something you've never learned in school but feel you should have? There are milestones for this project. You can look through these on your own. I'm going to switch gears and talk about what we're reading in the class. This is a quote that starts this section that is really important to me. Like I said, our first unit is on literacy, the unit students have just completed. And the reason I always start with literacy is because it is a really phenomenal, amazing thing that most of us, at least in this country, are able to engage in. I always remark on this fact to students, which is that for most of human history, most people couldn't read and write. We are in a really different age where many, many people have access to the ability to read and write, and that's really cool. I come specifically from a Black tradition, and for Black people in this country, enslaved people in this country, there were very tall and imposing barriers to being able to read and write. And for them, the ability to read, the ability to write was a way to not only achieve freedom for themselves, but freedom for those around them. And so that is my framework for thinking about literacy as this really emancipatory, really freeing thing. And I try to imbue a little bit of that to students, right? It's really cool. It's really amazing that we're able to read and write. All right, in terms of English 11, sorry if I go on tangents elsewhere in this video. Students are reading Exit West. That's a book they just started. Really cool novel about migration using magical realism. And then they'll be reading Homegoing, which explores sort of migration across the Atlantic, sort of related to the transatlantic slave trade, but so much more, sort of exploring within West Africa, in Ghana, where the country's partially set, and within the US, the continental US, how migration and also ancestry have influenced people through time. Students are going to be given choice in their reading. They're going to be able to choose a work of world literature that they're interested in, want to explore more deeply, and then towards the end of the year, we'll be engaged in a research unit as well. And then there are selections of different things that we'll be reading, engaging with over the course of the year as well. In AP Lang, a lot of the reading is self-directed. Students are going to be reading for that project I mentioned before, sort of looking for texts that answer the questions they have. about the gaps in their learning that they want to fill. There is some required reading. I don't list it out here because it changes from year to year, but there are going to be texts that we read as a class, and I'll be generating ideas for text to read from students. Um, Writing, this is another quote about writing. Um, we have writing broken up into different strands. So there's expository writing, creative writing, reflective writing, research-based writing. You can sort of look at this on your own. One thing that I do want to hone in on, because I think a lot of parents have some anxiety or concern about this, there will be time in English 11 for students to draft a for now college essay. So looking at the Common App prompts, thinking about what they might have to say, and drafting a version of their college essay that they could use next year, senior year for college. But regardless of whether or not they use it, they have gone through the process of writing a really great essay that colleges would appreciate and would tell a story about themselves that's powerful and meaningful. AP Lang, we're doing the same sort of strands of writing, but more. Students are going to be writing an essay every 3 weeks, 2 essays every 3 weeks, one in class as timed writing, and then one where we're working on it in class. 1 week, I'm giving them feedback the second week, and then they're revising that third week. So a lot of practice writing, and the reason for that is that in order to become a good writer, you have to do a lot of writing. And I want them to excel at the tests that they're going to take at the end of the year if they are looking for the college credit attached to that. All right, last piece related to the course is grading. Major thing to hit on here is that the floor in my class is a 50%. So the lowest grade a student can receive on any assignment is a 50%. The way that I explain that to students is that the 100 scale doesn't really make much sense to me. An A on that scale is anywhere from a 90 to 100. A B is anywhere from an 80 to an 89. A C is anywhere from a 70 to 79, so on, so on. But then we get to an F, and an F is anywhere from a 0 to a 59. So there are multiple tiers in which students can fail. And so I try to simplify that process to equalize it. Students may struggle for a variety of reasons in my class, but when they are ready to engage in the learning and when they do find success, I want that transition to feel smooth for them so that they can go from a 50 to a 60 to a 70 to an 80 and continue to do well in my class. Related to that, I have 2 percentage breakdowns for grades. 20% of their grades is formative assessments, so that's classwork, homework that I give to them. It's also a lot of the work that they do in their notebooks. Students are required to have a dedicated notebook for this class, and they do a lot of writing in class, but also at home. I want them to live the life of a writer. So each week, in addition to whatever we do in class, they're required to do 2 or 3 notebook entries at home. It sort of alternates from week to week. So there's that. Those are the formative assessments. And then 80% of the grade, the huge chunk of it, is summative assessments. So those are the major assignments that students have that end each unit. And so I really want students to be able to show what they've learned, and that's why it gets the big bulk of the grade. In terms of other questions, no, I don't give extra credit. There are deadlines that students are expected to meet. If students, for whatever reason, can't make the deadline for a given assignment, there's flexibility around it. But my reason for having deadlines is that I don't want work to pile on top of itself and for students to become overwhelmed or stressed by all the work that they have to complete. I think those are the major things related to grading. As with any of this, if you have any further questions, feel free to send an email to be in communication with me. For most formative assessments at 20% of the grade, things are graded on a 3-point scale. Students can earn a 4 out of 4, a 2 out of 4, or 1 out of 4, a good, an okay, or a not yet. Those equate in percentage because we're starting with 50 at the floor, is as 100%, a 75%, or a 62.5%. The reason why the okay is set at 75% is that I really want to encourage students to revise and do better. So if they turn in something and it's not quite fully meeting my expectations, that's fine, that's okay, but they can do better. And I want that to be reflected in the grading. Um, for summative assessments, they get a rubric that outlines what they need to do, and so they can self-assess before turning in work to me. And yeah, that's the bulk of it for grading. There's a midterm reflection letter and portfolio that they're going to get to at the end of this quarter, but you'll probably find out more about that when we get closer to the date. And you can read about it here in the syllabus. Academic integrity, main things, students should not plagiarize in my class. If they're struggling, I really welcome them to come and meet with me. I'm always available before school. It's 8:02 right now. I've been here since 7:30. So this is great time for students to check in with me. I'm also available after school if I'm not doing a club. So that's a time we can schedule a meeting as well. These are a bunch of apps that we use for the class. You can sort of look through these on your own. In terms of class materials, students need a fully charged Chromebook, a folder, dedicated notebook, that's super important, pens and pencils, Post-it notes, and the text we're reading for the class, and an open mind. Most students have these things, are bringing them, if not every day, pretty consistently, so we're doing pretty good on that. The last piece here is a caregiver assignment. That's you. This is completely optional. Just if you have the time, send me an email about your child. I learn a lot about them just from them coming to my class each day, but you probably know a lot more. So if you want to shoot me some information, I would greatly appreciate that. There's a link for you to sign the syllabus, and that's it. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really have enjoyed having your students in my class so far, your child, your scholar. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and yeah, looking forward to the year.